them to a topic. How many product managers? Who's currently in a product management role in this room? Okay, good. Thank God. Otherwise this presentation would be horrible. A little bit about me. Vivek Bedi. I actually have two roles. I'm the head of product at LearnVest, but I'm also the VP of Digital Consumer Experience at Northwestern Mutual. I was born in, who's from Jersey? Anyone from Jersey? Woo, Jersey! Rutgers University, just me. Oh, there's one.
Right here.
I grew up in Jersey, still live in Jersey, went to Rutgers University in Jersey. I'm boring Jersey. I was a computer science, computer engineering double major. I'm going to be a technologist for the rest of my life. I was at Goldman Sachs for about 13 years. About 3 years in, I realized I don't want to be a technologist at all. My heart's more on the product side of things, so I spent a lot of time doing digital products, so think voice, video, text, mobile, social, global, everything from that perspective. Did a stint at a startup in the exciting world of background checks. Exciting world of background checks. Eventually that company actually got acquired by Goldman Sachs, and then I said to myself, I can't go back to Goldman. I want to go work at a startup. So I joined LearnVest. 2 months later, they got acquired by Northwestern Mutual. So LearnVest really geared at fixing America's wallet, financial information, get introduced to a virtual planner that guides you through money management 101. You guys know Northwestern Mutual, based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They're really focused on life insurance and financial planning. So that's my quick story. The topic I wanted to talk about today, and thank God everyone's mostly a product manager, you've built a product, you launched it. Now what do you do next? So it's that day, right? The launch has happened. You were up all night. You sent out that email to the team. You congratulated them. You're going through a whirlwind of emotions. The engineers are drinking at the bar. It's all good. And I was telling my wife this, and I know Jeff knows my wife, so don't tell her these jokes. But I was telling my wife this, and she's not in product, and she's like, so it's like our wedding day, right? I'm like, yes, honey, it's like our wedding day. We were engaged for a year. It was amazing, and now finally the day is here, right? Everyone's giving high fives. It's like our wedding reception. Awesome. The team's like, we did it. This was so much hard work. Initial tractions, the honeymoon. Things are going so well. Everything's going great. And then I had a kid. And then things hit a wall. What happened? Things were looking great. I don't know what to do now. So I'm just going to go work on the next product. So this is really the issue that we're going to tackle today. Why? Why is this happening? One of the articles that I follow is a professor at Harvard. His name is Clayton Christensen. You guys should look him up. But he did a study around this that 30,000 digital products are released, meaningful products, in a year. About 85% of them fail. Okay? The same study says 73% of consumers, you and I, actually want companies to release something new and innovative. So we want it, we release it, but it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? It keeps failing. And one of the reasons that it keeps failing is adoption, right? And really thinking about a plan. And that is where we're so focused as product managers on build, develop it, launch it, and then we really forget about it. And we let it go, right? Or hand it off to marketing or some other team that really focuses on it. And that's really that forgotten role of a product manager that I wanted to stress, that I've learned the hard way in my career, that your product is never done. You have to keep moving forward, keep owning it, and taking it to the next level. Now, this is not about you personally. There was someone on my team that was really, I always think back, unless you work at Facebook or Uber or something of that sort, 95% of the time, the products that you're building are actually not for you, right? It's such an irony. You're actually building products and obsessing and spending so much time, but you're actually building them for somebody else, right? There was actually a product manager on my team that was so obsessed with the product. She wanted it the way she wanted it, right? And I guided her, like, never get married to your product because it's not for you. And then when we put it in front of financial planners and advisors, hated it. Like, this has nothing to do with what we're looking to do, right? So it's not really about you. You have to wire your brain to step away from the product to some degree and think about it from the actual consumer's lens, right? What are they thinking and how are they feeling about the product? And how are they feeling about when the problem that you're trying to solve, early phases of it, after you've launched it, really putting yourself in front of that user. The best way to do it is actually talk to them, right? And be close to them. So there's a few things that, unfortunately, we all are wired and have issues as consumers. One, there's a lot of information being thrown in. Any one of your customers at your company, just think about your Gmail or inbox today. There's so much information being thrown at our consumers, and we are consumers of many products. It's information overload, right? There's a lot coming at us at once. The other problem is there's change overload. Your product might not be the only thing that I'm evolving and going through. There might be a CRM system or an internal mobile app or an employee engagement HR portal that I have to worry about. Me as an employee day in and day out, there's so much happening around me that your product, as while it seems like it's the biggest deal for you at that moment, the consumer is going through quite a bit, right, at that moment. The third thing is rewiring habits is hard. I was trying to convince my dad to use the iPhone for so many years. I was relentless. I'm like, Dad, you can text the kids. You can FaceTime. He's like, no, don't want to do it. Then all of a sudden, about 6 months ago, my dad sent me a Snapchat request. I'm not even on Snapchat. So wiring and rechanging your habits is hard. People are wired that they want to do, even though the technology sucks and the current product might not be so great. Change is always hard, and it is hard, and convincing people to change is hard. So what do we do about this, right? We launched this amazing product, and how do we get the word out, and how do we get people to adopt it and use it and want the ability to come on board? 3 simple steps that we have come up with, and I'll show you Gray's use case it was as well. First is before you actually launch it. So while you're building the product with your designers, your engineers, or whoever else in your stand-up team, you need to take that onus to actually start thinking about getting some troops, right? Some users involved. One of the most vocal clients we have at Northwestern Mutual is actually my advisor. He's grumpy. He's used to doing things in the way that he's always wanted to do, but we brought him along to the journey. Sometimes the best people to bring in early on your MVP phases and get that group behind you are some of your toughest critics, right? Because you really want to iron out in that build phase some of the challenges you're having before you bring it into deployment or design. So number one thing is bring people along and tackle some of those difficult issues early on. And go grassroots, right? A lot of time we spend going out, showing black and white versions of something that we're going to do. We've created 2 communities at Northwestern Mutual. One's called the Dell. It's about 500 financial advisors. We have 8,000 in the US that sell life insurance. We picked 500. We show them glimpses of things before we even bring it to tech, right? And we say, would this resonate in your business? Does this make sense? And sometimes we'll get so much iterative and opinions that we will actually redo that, and then we go to tech and design with a more meaningful concept. Same thing we've done with a second community called the Inner Circle. It's 4,000 of our 4 million paying customers. They get gift cards, they get promotions, they come into the office, they drink beer with us. They also give us feedback on, as a consumer, this will resonate, this will not resonate, and really kind of help us tackle some of those issues early on in the process. Find the way you're going to broadcast. Every company's different. Some people have a compliance department that won't let them do external. Some people have internal. Find that broadcast channel that's really going to work. Roman on my team is here. He loves the rule of 3. Try to find 3 different communication channels. We use Slack internally. That works well. We've actually experimented with LinkedIn for our advisors because that's working well. So find some of those channels and partner with the right people. And notice, you're actually doing all this still pre-launch. We haven't launched anything yet. You really need to start thinking about these things before you're actually ready to launch the product. Build anticipation. This is my favorite because I love doing this, and Roman knows I'm dramatic at times, but create a buzz. Let people start knowing that we're doing stuff, right? Let people start knowing that, prepare the organization, announce it frequently. Get the word out. I do a monthly all hands. I'll meet with advisors. We'll have tech field committees that we get into, corporate events. We'll go there and we'll say, we're the digital guys and gals, and this is what we're doing. Get ready, it's coming. And already they'll say, wow, I love it, or I hate it, but it doesn't matter. At least they're engaging with us. And now they know that it's coming, and I'm putting out the fires before they're actually happening. right? So this is about creating that buzz, and again, all of this is still pre-launch. We've done quite a bit to prepare our users that something's going to change for them. And then you've launched, right? One of the best compliments I've ever gotten in my 17 years at product is we're doing an all hands at LearnVest in our New York office. And we had an hour, so the entire team had to present what they were working on. So the mobile team came in with the mobile app, and the web team came in with their web stuff. And afterwards, someone came up to me and said, "That was an amazing show." And I said, "What?" Like, you and your team put on an amazing show. And that resonated to me, that this is supposed to be a presentation, but we put on a show. Show what you're doing. Show them what the experience could look like. I was just in a board meeting with Northwestern Mutual, and they said you have 20 minutes to talk about client experience. I actually demoed the website. I said I'm not going to do any presentations. We're not going to do bullet points. You're going to see what we're doing, and you're going to see what's live right now, because in many cases they actually don't know what's live. The consumers think they do, but they don't. They've actually never tried the product. And here's some of the things that we're experimenting with in vision and black and whites and how things could look like. Always err on show and tell, because in the end of the day, we're humans. We want to see how things work. We don't want to just hear about it. Okay? Keep your message simple. We're wired, we're busy in our day in and day out. We want a checklist. What are the top 3 things I need to know? Can you break it down in English? Don't talk products, don't talk tech. How does this affect my day-to-day, and what are the benefits that I'm going to receive from it? Activate, take those communication channels. You know, some of the top users that advocate our products are actually not the product team, they're influencers. We've actually found, and this is a really important point, you need to find influencers. And usually they'll be the folks that you engage with early, that helped you solve problems, thinking about it during the MVP phase. But these are the ones you want advocating your message. I have 2 kids, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I'll tell you, who has kids? Anybody? Am I the only one? And having kids is really hard, and they never listen to anything I say. You listen to everything Lena says, by the way, Jeff. But, you know, the other day, I was telling my son he should do something, and then he comes home, and Devin, his best friend, he's like, "Devin's mom, Kelly, said I should do that, and I think it's a great idea." I'm like, "I told you that for the entire week." But when Kelly says it, it makes sense to you, right? And I think it's a lot like parenting in many ways, where when you find the right influencers that will help advocate your product, it's going to resonate with the consumer base a lot of times from you advocating their products, because we have intent. We're the product team. We're evil, right? We have an intent that no one understands, and we're trying to change people's world, and we're trying to make life difficult. But when their friends are doing it, then it makes sense. They're friends. They're doing the right thing. So it's important to find influencers that are actually in your client base to help advocate to the rest of the clients. Mobilize. So now you've launched. Now what do we do, right? Mobilize. Like, let's start acting on all of the things we talked about. Get your influence out. This is where a lot of folks stop. They stop and say the product will be born on its own, and it never does, right? Because this is more than any point of the journey where we need our influencers and our advocates to go and tell the story. Every year, we have 4 events, regional meetings and annual meetings, and you know, my team usually gets a spot where they can come in and present anything they want, and we always choose to have our advisors come in and present with us, because again, hearing from them really help that adoption and implement. Specialists. So we've created a team within product called the product specialists. They're not product managers. Product managers are building and talking to advisors and using all the research communities. But product specialists are a small team that we've created that are evangelists. What they do is, and by the way, you don't have to create a separate team. You guys can do this as well. But the goal of this team is go do demos. Go provide in-depth analysis of the features. Go talk about the roadmap with our clients. Show and tell, right? Also then bring back to the product managers that are building. Here's what I'm hearing. Did you know that the Houston office does things a little differently? We might want to consider that, right? Really taking the message of what we're doing and just cascading and broadcasting it. So we've actually created a specific team that their day in and day out job is to just be our champions and our advocates of what we're working on. Hit the road. You know, I talked about this. We're doing events. We're going out there and really making it happen. So how did, you know, I love coming up here and talking about this, but everyone always tells me, like, great, that sounds exciting, but how did you do it? Can you give me a real life example? When I started 2.5 years ago, Northwestern Mutual had about 89 releases to the digital experience, okay? The year after, they had about 177. Last year, we had 1,405. Okay? Half my team is in Milwaukee, they're Northwestern Mutual employees. Half my team is here in Union Square, they're Learn Best employees. We work together to build, we have 2-week sprints, we have 30 pizza pie teams. I think everyone's a product manager, so they know what a pizza pie team is. We have small pod teams that are really focused on fixing this problem. Every week they have to release something. It can be a small copy change, or it could be a big feature. They sit together, they work virtually, they use Skype, they use Google Hangout, they use Slack, they communicate across Milwaukee and New York, and they make it happen. That's how we got to these 1,400 releases. We're already on track, and this is already outdated, but we're gonna break 4,000 releases this year. Right? That's unprecedented compared to what we had only 3 years ago. So this new way of working and the new way of really kind of thinking of problems has really changed the pace of what we can accelerate. And by the way, it's not easy, right? The team's responsible for client, mobile web, pre-client, marketing acquisition, Northwestern Mutual advisor tools, planning. There's so much in our portfolio of our set of products that it's amazing that we've been able to kind of escalate and really kind of make this happen. Now, how did we do it with some of the principles I talked about? I don't really talk about it. I'm actually the moderator there. I'm dressed down that day. But you'll notice all of these folks are actually our advisors. So this was a session where we had with about, I think, 1,000 advisors. They were going out and they were sharing their story about how the mobile app saved a client, or how the new planning software changed the way that I work with my young professional market. They were the ones advocating it. They were the ones that were getting the questions on how does it work in your practice? What do your clients feel, right? Now what they did was come back to me and say, here's some of the things that I'm hearing. That's an amazing power to actually use your influencers and your advocates to help go champion your product. We're out there, so I told you about the product specialist team. They're out there at corporate events. They're really kind of showing, this goes back to my show and tell example, every opportunity my team gets. If we can get pumped into a booth, if I was a keynote speaker at a tech day event that we had, the team has been working on annual meetings and thinking about how they have stations set up. Anywhere we can get presence, we get ourselves plugged in. Because why? We want to make sure that Northwestern Mutual knows digital is important, and this is what we're working on, right? And the only way to do that is not with PowerPoints and presentations, not with newsletters or emails, because nobody reads that. The best way to do that is get out there and show them exactly what we're working on. We just visited our office. This picture is actually a week old, right? And we're spending this is the #1 advisor at Northwestern Mutual. He brings in the most income for Northwestern Mutual. And we spent the entire day with his team, right? You can see the team's wearing jeans, and they're really whiteboarding, and we're really talking through the problems. We're really shadowing and learning how they work. A lot of times, advisors and clients, we think and assume that they use a product a certain way, but when you actually watch the market, it's completely different. And sometimes data, my marriage with data is like my marriage with my wife. Most days, I'm wrong, and most days she's right. So while data can skew you or work a certain way, nothing beats watching people work, right? And understanding how they do things. So make sure to spend time doing that as well. And we obsess. I was actually there Friday with our head of FRA, our head of our financial association, and what we had them do, and we called it a creative lab, and she was expecting an hour of presentations. What we did is we came up with pieces of paper and made them draw. Right? So she runs the investment side, and her big problem is how do we expose when the market goes down to our clients on the digital experience? Because they're going to call us and say, why is my stuff down? Right? It should be up, and I pay you for it to be up. And I said, great. I don't know the answer. I manage digital. Why don't we get together and whiteboard it? How would you draw it out if you were a consumer? It was an interesting experiment. This is 4 of about 20 folks on that team, and there's Jen from my team that's really guiding the conversation. But they came up with all these different examples. They had pictures. They had ideas. We said sticky notes, and we really brought them to the party and showed them how we work, right? Afterwards, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but she said, can we have 5 more of these sessions with all our other advisors, right? So when you bring your influencers early onto your build phase, and you bring them to the party and make them a part of your pizza pie team, you're already winning, and before you even launch. We haven't even launched this feature, by the way. We're still planning on how to launch it, but they already are excited that it's coming, and they're helping us advocate it. Our results, This was Northwestern Mutual's experience and what it looked like. This was the public-facing website. That was your logged-in website about a year ago. Of our 4 million clients, about 145,000 used to come to the client experience, right? You can see what that experience looks like. We weren't mobile-friendly. We had no mobile apps. This is unprecedented for the life insurance industry, actually. Not a lot of companies have mobile apps, right? So this was low digital adoption. Here's where we are now. We have mobile presence on Apple and iOS. You can now log in not only as a client, you can log in as a pre-client, someone that is actually engaging with an advisor. Our public-facing website, when you have a chance, go check it out. It's beautiful. We're at 1.2 million clients, right? That's a pretty expansive growth. It just happened in about 18 to 24 months. And it's never done. As I said, within that experience, your product's never done. Now that we've built the site and it looks amazing and we built the mobile app, how do we increase adoption? We keep focusing on it. We just released bill pay from the mobile device. We're now releasing self-service features on mobile device. How do we get people to aggregate their accounts? This actually went from a little less than 15 billion that we had aggregated to now we're hitting close to 60 billion. How do we get people to link their credit cards and other things? I don't want our site to just be you come there once a year to pay your life insurance and your financial products, right? We should be at the center of your financial life. We should be sending you notifications, and on Sunday when the Giants lose, I get a text that says, I'm down 1%, I want to log in and see why. Right? We want to be there, and these are the features that my team obsesses about, that it keeps working on the product. The same person that launched that website 3 years ago is still working on this experience of making it better and better and better. And I tell Roman this all the time, I extremely believe that person is the one that got us to 1.2 million. From 145,000 by just obsessing about the features and never giving up on the product and finding those influencers. Even from the servicing side, 850,000 calls a year come to the call center, can't pay my bill, don't know how to pay my bill, don't know how to change how to pay my bill, all that kind of stuff, right? Why are we calling people to do that? People should do that on the client website. Let's go paperless. Let's pay my bill. We went from 4% to 40%. This has nothing to do with a mobile app or the client website. This is about obsessing about those features and working with those influencers to make it better. And we keep going. 451 million has been paid online this year. Documents, you used to be able to, I'll tell you, life insurance is a really paper-based industry. How do we move some of that to digital, right? Now you have the ability of a secure channel that you can upload documents, e-sign them, hit submit, and off it goes for processing. A lot of that has been instrumented. 1.1 million emails have been, and notifications have been sent. We're moving towards push notifications. Now you get updates real time as things are changing in your financial life. So, I'm going to end there. This is my hashtags. This is the way to contact me. But what I'd say is we are so focused on building amazing products, and I think everyone in this room is probably amazing product managers. The one thing I'd say is please, please, please remember that your product's never done. And the most exciting part of your product is actually after it's launched. And how do we kind of take it to the next step and really improve on it, obsess over it, bring the influencers to the party, and really keep taking it and owning it to the next step. Cool?
Another round of applause for Vivek Bedi.